Welcome to As Built, the podcast from Graphic Machine about architecture firms, buildings, and how both get built. I'm your co-host, Patience Jones. With me is your other co-host,
Brian Jones.
Thank you for joining us. Our guests today are Brad Lukanic, CEO of CannonDesign since 2016, leading a firm of over 1,700 people across 18 offices in North America and India, and Natalie Petzoldt, Principal, Health Market Leader, and Board of Directors Chair, with nearly 3 decades focused on healthcare design. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us. It's great to be here.
So CannonDesign recently acquired Ennead Architects and Cityfi. Congratulations. How do you approach these kinds of acquisitions, and why are they important to the collective future of the firm?
Yeah, I think to start out, no two are the same. And they're no two are the same because largely, as you would expect, the people. We have been amazed by the sheer talent of individuals that we've crossed paths with. And what's been great about Ennead in particular is I've known some of the design partners for over a decade. I've been fortunate enough to sit on the AIA Large Firm Roundtable with Kevin McClurkin of Ennead. And he and I got to know each other as architects, partners, and friends. And through relationships like that, you start to have conversation about values. I do think that is an important topic. One of the most important things that we have found in any of them, while they're different, is that an alignment of values and an alignment of vision and alignment of the purpose of architecture. And I think we've done all of these under the idea of having a framework, not a plan, but a framework. And those were our guardrails or our North Star about how we could think forward in a way of when an opportunity presents itself, say, yeah, that's on our list of what's going to impact us and make it better. And I think Cityfi and its ability to be connected to the city at a pedestrian level to help work with mayors around the country and the world, to help work with civic leaders about what is the future of city, and then couple that with a design firm like Ennead and the powerhouse that they bring is two ones that really kind of summarize this idea of we can move more impactfully together than we might if we try and build things individually.
So cultivating the next generation of associates and firm leadership is something that many firms struggle with, especially where there are so many demands on leadership's time. What are some things that you have implemented or adopted that have helped nurture up-and-comers?
Yeah, I'll speak to this one a bit. And I've been with the firm, maybe I shouldn't say it, Brian, since you and I both graduated together just a few decades
5 years.
ago, right? And I joined CannonDesign. So I have seen this firm evolve through many chapters, but all in very great ways to where we are today. And I can speak personally about how I was allowed those opportunities to grow. And I think one of the best things, as Brad was talking about some of these other firms who have joined us, we also learn from each of them and we're like, hey, what's working for you? And we start to fold things in with us. So a few of the programs that we have across the firm that really allow anybody at any level, any role that they're in to participate in different things outside of their day-to-day projects are things like a program we have called Open Hand Studio. It's actually an award-winning public interest design practice that we have that regardless of where the project might be, where we're giving back to our community and wanting to really, one thing we believe in it, right, is that we are in and of our communities. We want to have a positive impact on all of them. And when we say that, it's not just where we have office locations. We are looking across the country, but across the world for where can we have those positive impacts and give back. And that might mean that we bring in people to play roles on a project or engagement like that, from strategic consulting to actually design architecture engineering services. Could be our graphics team who is really involved in something. And I do want to give a plug real fast to a project that just opened over in Ukraine. So last year, we joined a team, which is really led by the Sunflower Network. It's a team of architects, engineers, designers, furniture vendors, and manufacturers, a whole host. We are not the only architect involved. We were willing to partner with others, right? It's a war-torn country that has gone through a lot. They really needed a new children's pediatric hospital over there. And we said, we're going to join the team. We contributed from the design side, but here's the cool thing where I got involved in a very small way last year, but I'm so proud of it. As this facility was going to open, which it is now opened in the last month, they said, well, we actually need furniture and equipment to go with this as well. Like, where do we get medical equipment? How do we get it to Ukraine? We said, hey, at CannonDesign, we have great resources to all these clients across the country, healthcare clients, coast to coast. I bet in a warehouse somewhere they have older equipment they're no longer using. They've bought a newer model. They don't want it to just sit there. We called up Stanford University was willing to give equipment, right? Here locally in Missouri, Kansas City, and St. Louis, BJC Healthcare. I reached out to them. They said, yeah, we have a warehouse of older equipment. We've actually done some other things like this in Ukraine in the past. We're happy to send some equipment over there. Sunflower Network helped with all the shipping. I got to see the truck or the pictures of the truck last month when it was all unloaded, right? So we are looking for how can we contribute in all of these ways. So Open Hand Studio is only one of those. Other things that we have, there's something called AMP, AMP. We have an in-house incubator where we are looking for ideas from anybody. Anybody can submit ideas. As part of our firm-wide budget, we invest in some of these ideas to advance every year. Some of them really take off. Some of them might be more internal processes. Some of them turn into actually specialty services that become something that we then sell or use with our external clients as well, right? So we believe that an idea can come from anywhere. We have another group that's really focused on research called the Research Core. And again, if there's something that you want to research to learn more about, especially in the design industry and the impact we can have, you might bring together a multidisciplinary team that's an architect, an engineer, a consultant from our Blue Cottage team, somebody else who really wants to dive into this. And again, we believe in supporting all of these. We have as well, we call them Next, N-E-X-T. It's what we think are the next generation of leaders or emerging next. We support them. We also have different fellowship programs we run through our different markets. I am a graduate years ago of our healthcare fellowship program, which is a dedicated, intensive 12-month program that's very hands-on, but it's all about growing our internal people to really have future leaders, both within the firm and then within the overall industry. So, and there are so many other things we could talk about. I do want to give one quick perspective. Since I am fortunate to be on the board of directors for the firm, and as you said, Patience, I am currently the chair of the board. I also have this perspective that about 1/3 of our employees in the overall firm are actually owners of the firm, right? We're an employee-owned firm, so we have our own internal shareholders. They, of course, are given advanced information like shareholders reports on an annual basis, right? We consider that to also be an opportunity for growth in that way, that if they're interested in leadership, they can also approach any of us who are board members and be asking questions. Because as Brad and I would also say, we're also then considering who we think is qualified to be on our next board of directors. And we usually have a few people from the board who rotate on and off on an annual basis, right? At this point in time, we have 9 people on our board of directors. We usually maybe rotate 1, 2, or at the most 3 at any given year on and off.
So we're touching a little bit on the programs, but CannonDesign employees span many different generations, and there are differences in generational expectations of work. Does this inform how the firm develops programs aimed at career growth and training?
I have no idea what you're talking about. This is totally foreign to us. Yes. So, let me bucket it into 3 things because this sounds eerily familiar. And it's actually kind of exciting, and it's actually made us better. I think there's an entrepreneurial mindset between generations that is somewhat different. And Natalie touched on some of the things from AMP and other programs that we offer to help facilitate that. One of the most interesting things I think that came out of it was a group of individuals that got together to do a children's book about the story of becoming an architect. And her name is Deja in the story, and Deja the Dynamo. And it's about this spirit of, we could present this idea of how to build a pipeline for the future generations through the storytelling of a book. And our graphics team and our communications team and a whole group of individuals had this idea. And so that is like the entrepreneurial kind of mindset. The second mindset is the work-life experience mindset, not balance, not separation, but just experience. And, when we did our last strategic framework, one of the things that was so fundamental, and it's our first pillar in our strategic framework, is something called people are everything. And it was a moment in time for us to relook at our benefits, our programs, how people track through their career, how to remove bias in everything from salary planning to, advancements and all. And so we developed actually a very robust career workbook that talks about the journey of an individual, both vertically, if they want to take, let's just say, the design track all the way through, but a design track then wants to move into a client leadership track. And so we've actually mapped, it's almost like 4 dimensions, it feels like some days, but we've really mapped the journey of an individual. And as we grow and expand, I think in some ways, it is a way to try and capture the minds and the spirits of the generational interest in how do I move through an organization, where often that is very unclear, and adding transparency to it. So I think that's a good example. And then the third is ownership. And as Natalie mentioned about the wide path of ownership, one of the things that I am so proud of is that we try and communicate very clearly about what it means to be an owner. And our people have responded by investing in us, which we take really serious. And sometimes people will buy 2 shares, sometimes people will buy 1,000 shares. But even when the person buys 2 shares, they had to work really hard to scrape up that money, but they are investing in the firm. And I'm equally excited about the 2 shares versus the 1,000. And we are seeing a difference where people say, I don't see the next generation investing in things. We see it quite the opposite, and we see a huge investment, and we take it, Natalie and myself in particular, take it really, really seriously.
The firm's previous headcount was about 1,600 people, and the Ennead Architects acquisition increased that by an additional 160 people. How does the leadership manage to achieve a cohesive experience for both the clients and the employees?
It's a work in progress each and every day. So truth be told, it's a work in progress. And I think it's been more of a work in progress as we've really embraced the post-COVID hybrid experience for even working. During COVID, we actually hired several hundred people not near an office of ours because there was just raw talent, and there was a growth that we had. And some of those individuals have transformed our organization. So part of it was a plan. Part of it is perhaps a little bit of serendipity. I think what happens though is at its best, people get connected to other people, and traditions of an office stay. The CannonDesign that I'm so proud of, there is not a mothership, that there's not a central command or control or the biggest office and everything are satellites. It's a series of groups of individuals, somewhere between 30, 60, as big as 200. But the traditions in an office, like our New York City office, has an annual Halloween competition. It is fantastic, but that doesn't necessarily happen in other offices. And so each office has its own thing, and somehow it all makes up part of what makes CannonDesign rich. And then I think our Open Hand Studio that Natalie was talking about, which was also our outreach to do pro bono and work efforts, our community service day, where everybody in the firm takes off to go into the community, and each office and each group decides what to do. So I think there are things that allow our teams to get connected to each other outside of just the work that we do that I'm proud of.
So switching gears a little bit, the recently completed Irma and Norman Brahman Comprehensive Cancer Center in Miami Beach for Mount Sinai Medical Center included multiple service lines. How does a multifaceted project like that reflect the ambitions of the firm and specifically your healthcare practice?
Yeah, I'm really proud to speak about this one. So, working with Mount Sinai Medical Center in Miami Beach is a long-standing multi-decade client relationship that we have. Years ago, it was actually some leaders in our New York City office who were working with them. And then about 12 to 15 years ago, it transitioned to our St. Louis office, which is where I'm located. And I've personally been working with Mount Sinai down there for over 12 years now. So we've done many things. The latest and greatest is this comprehensive cancer center for the Brayman family that you reference, which is just absolutely fabulous. Brian, I think you drove by it a few months ago.
Did?
I had the pleasure of being down there about a month ago when we had the fabulous ribbon cutting for it. We did photography, and then the first patients, actually it was 350 patients were seen in that facility on the very first day on May 4th. So Mr. and Mrs. Brayman, Irma and Norman, came forward a few years ago and said that we really want to invest in cancer care, design, and research in South Florida. What we learned at the ribbon cutting is that one of their daughters, when she was 54 years old and was in her second battle with cancer, passed away. And so this is very personal to them. My own parents, both of my parents are cancer survivors. So I love to be involved in designing facilities like this because I know what it's like to be that family member and provide care and support. So for this, we brought a lot of our internal resources to them, both architecture, interior design, structural engineering, our Blue Cottage of CannonDesign team, which is really a fabulous group that is both strategic consultants, data analytics, operational leaders, they're nurses, former physicians, hospital administrators. They were involved from the beginning where we did programming and operational design. They actually also do activation and transition planning to help clients bring the building to life, make sure it's all working. They do day in the life scenarios with the client. Our Blue Cottage team was actually there that very final weekend when everyone was moving in. They were there that Monday morning when the doors opened and the first patients came in. They helped do a bit of triage. How are things going? I actually followed up with that team yesterday, and we're already getting some amazing feedback that some of the new operational protocols we put into place, for instance, were decreasing the time from the patient's blood draw to where they could be seen in an exam room by their physician in half. It was cutting it from 40 minutes to now only 20 minutes.
Wow.
And like even those things are a really big deal for someone like this. This project has been transformational for Mount Sinai. Previously, their cancer services were in different buildings on the campus. A patient might have to go to one building for radiation, another building for their infusion, totally back in the hospital for all of their imaging services. Now we've brought everything together into this new 5-story building, 220,000 square feet. One of the guiding principles from day one, I just pulled this up the other day, was to have a one-stop, comprehensive, amazing destination center for patients, families, and staff. And I would say this absolutely hits it out of the park. And as we heard Mount Sinai and Mr. Brayman speak about it that day at the ribbon cutting, just the way they are speaking about it, it is transforming how cancer services are done in all of South Florida and is going to have just such an amazing impact on everybody that is involved with it. So we are really super excited with it. So I have to say, both of you need to take a trip back to Miami Beach.
Okay.
Now that it's
Twist my arm.
open, it is amazing.
Yeah.
The exterior of the building is curtain wall, but also precast. It is designed to withstand category level 5 hurricanes up to 175 miles per hour, impact resistant exterior. It sits on the seawall of Biscayne Bay, sunset views to the west with downtown Miami behind it. It is amazing. There's probably no other site like it in the country. So we were very fortunate with that. Myself and then the designer Arjun Bhatt were talking about this It is by far one of the buildings that I think we've designed that is the most heavily and positively impacted by how daylight and natural sunlight
Mm.
moves around both the exterior, but also then comes into the interior spaces throughout the day. And it is just amazing to hear the comments of everyone who's been walking through it. All of the public areas have access to the views. Even the blood draw chair and phlebotomy, I've never seen it like this, has the view over Biscayne Bay, every infusion bay. They can sit there for their
Excellent.
multi-hour treatment with views. So we are really, really proud of it and all the great things that it's going to do for everybody down there.
Awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah, I want to leave like tomorrow and go see it.
Let's go. I'll be your tour guide. We'll go together.
Perfect. I would
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. I would love that. CannonDesign often collaborates with other firms to co-deliver projects. How do you build a working culture that prioritizes quality outcomes instead of focusing on firm competition?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I'll actually speak to it from some real personal experience I have now. So, yes, I just talked about projects in Miami. I have clients all across the country. So, I work in different areas. And one of the markets that we're working in right now is in Oklahoma. And we've benefited from a great partnership with a firm down there. It's a smaller firm, but called Miles Architecture. Actually, we both went back through our history and we found that we worked together probably in the late 90s on a project, but it was with other leaders of both firms at the time. And then in the last decade, they participated in a program that CannonDesign has built for ourselves. It's called our Inclusive Partner Program. It is all about small businesses. We host at least one cohort every year, and it can be from all sorts of different design partners within the industry. Mostly small businesses, they might be veteran owned, other things. They can really be from anywhere in the country. But we actually take them through one of our own training programs. And here's why. One, it's a benefit to them. I think they meet weekly for about 12 weeks in a row each for an hour. They can invite one or multiple people to join them. Here in town, a local civil engineer who's a small business trying to grow has recently joined our cohort. We invited them to join us. They get to hear from our leadership all across the firm, right? How do we approach things from a legal perspective? What do we think about from ethics and compliance perspective? What does our marketing team think about, and how would we approach this? What we have learned is that they gain so much from that just in learning, but we gain from building great relationships with them. And we then realize who we then have a really common culture with, and we have shared values. So it comes back to something Brad talked about earlier with some of the other recent firms joining us. But even as we go to partner in some of these other areas of the country, maybe we need a local partner, or we just want to work with somebody else, we have found that that's a really great way that we've really built our list or our database of those partners that we want to have on our team. So in Oklahoma City with Miles Architecture, we now have probably half a dozen different contracts in progress with them, and all very successfully, both in our higher education market. So separate team working with them at OU, University of Oklahoma in Norman. We're also doing a lot of work with them in the healthcare market, which I'm involved with at Oklahoma Children's Hospital, at the OU Health System, with their Stevenson Cancer Center, doing a new cancer center in Tulsa. So I would say that's just one example of many. We've built a similar great relationship with a design firm called Hafer in Evansville, Indiana. And again, it's leading to both of us enjoying working together so much that we're looking for other opportunities around the country. And I will say this, in my opinion, what then proves that it's a great relationship is we're both looking for opportunities that can benefit the other, that it's not just necessarily a one-way flow of looking for those opportunities. And that is by far what we have found with both of these firms in particular.
Thinking about that in particular, how does the firm's strategic vision evolve as changes in the marketplace occur or global events unfold? We've had none of those in the last year.
None. And we don't expect anything for the next 2 years. So I guess we don't need to answer this question. So it'll be great. Yes,
it's all smooth sailing. Yeah.
Well, we buckle our seatbelt and we just floor it and see what happens.
Yeah.
No. You know, I think one of the things that is remarkable about our strategic framework is that we built it on this idea that it could be agile and flexible. So, as I mentioned, it started with people are everything. The other end of it is impact is our business. Impact is our business can be new types of talent, new types of coders, whether they're vibe coders, whether they're computational analysts. Like, it can be a whole host of things that create impact for our firm and for our clients. And then in the middle is things like remarkable and regenerative design and dream it and do it technology. And honestly, the area that has the largest investment right now is the dream it and do it technology. And it doesn't say the word AI, but you can imagine with dream it and do it technology, the underpinnings of how to use AI. And what's really been fascinating is understanding as new technology is rapidly deployed, the importance of protecting the intellectual property. And so one of the biggest things that we have been focusing on as a design firm is actually we have built our own AI tool and platform called Billie. Billie is after our founder, William Cannon. And Billie uses this, but within a safe box so that our teams can average and not worry about uploading confidential data or information, and we can actually leverage pieces of AI to not lead the decision, but help us inform, which is a very important distinction, I would say, is there's a lot of AI out there running ahead. We try and use it as a back end piece to help us actually be better, and so that we still lead with thought leadership, but then we augment it. So, I mean, look, the world is getting exponentially more complex, and I think what we have tried to do is set up a framework that is agile enough to respond to the changing conditions. And I don't know what's next, but I know that there are people in our firm that are really excited that when something comes out, how we can respond. And that actually gives me a huge amount of optimism and hope in a world that maybe could use a little more optimism. So,
which is a great segue to the next question. One of the CannonDesign's guiding maxims is do good, do right. What would you say to a firm who aspires to that, but is having a difficult time aligning that with client requests / demands?
Natalie, you want to lead off on this one, or do you want me to?
It doesn't matter. I'll start off. There's 2 points I would bring forward here, and I love that you actually looked up and know what some of our maxims are. Internally, we give spotlight recognition to anybody in the firm, and anybody can do it. And it's aligned with all of our maxims. Some of our other maxims are share or uncover beauty. There's a whole list. But do good and do right is also one of them. And again, anybody at any level can share a spotlight. And we have a lot of people who do this. So maybe we find a team member in a really tough situation, internally or externally, having to really think about something or make a hard decision. They might actually get a spotlight recognition for do good and do right, right? So we want to recognize that with everybody throughout the firm. And then another program we have, the firm strongly believes in ethics and compliance. And actually, I think we're renaming it Ethics and Integrity, I'd recently learned. And every one of our offices has multiple integrity champions. And I happen to also be one for our office. And I'll actually give you a little bit of a story of an example where I personally ran into a tough situation several years ago. And it was with a client that we had been working with for decades. It was for an upcoming opportunity where we were very well positioned for it, but we were likely to have a partner firm with us as well. And we learned that the partner firm had some information that maybe we didn't think was the right thing to have, or they didn't go about it in the right way. We pulled back and said, well, we need to discuss this. I even remember one day calling Brad and I said, here's the situation we're in. We could proceed with this, but I think it could be an issue for us, and none of us want to be in that. And so we decided that actually we were not going to pursue this opportunity that we were incredibly well positioned for, because we didn't think it was the right thing to do. And some people might say, but wait, how could you tell the client no? Actually, it was really easy. I called the client and I said, we would love to pursue this, but for various reasons, we found that it's probably just not the right thing at this time. We didn't have to give a lot of detail. And actually, to this day, we still continue to do a lot of other work for this client. And I knew that I could sleep a lot better at night having made the decision that we made, because it was overall the right thing to do.
I think, leading with integrity, having a value-based construct that you want to make the world a better place, there is always a swirl or buzz of challenges that could be in the thin gray line. I think what we try and do is give our teams and our people through our programs ways to talk through it, to make sure that they don't ever feel the pressure when it doesn't feel right, and to actually give them support and infrastructure to talk through things so that they can lead. Because I think people love to have a values and integrity. They sometimes don't know how to work through a problem as it relates. And so I am proud of this firm that it has infrastructure in place to talk through. And we even have a 24-hour hotline for people to call and say, I just had this issue, can we talk through it? And, we do talk through it. And it is, it's good to have a process to maintain the who we are, because I think if you stray from that, it's really hard to instill trust in people and the work that we do.
Well, and I appreciate you both talking about that, because I think it can be easy for people who are at firms that are not the size and longevity and prestige of Cannon to think, oh, once I get to this point, I won't be faced with those things anymore. I won't have to make those decisions, or the client will never ask me to do anything that I'm uncomfortable with. And I believe that everything that you've said is going to help people understand that this is the nature of the practice, and that you can do things like say no and still survive, and better yet, sleep at night.
Yeah.
So thank you again, both, for taking your time out of your very busy schedule to share all of your insights, your experience, and your warmth with us and with our audience. Until next time, this has been As Built.